Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to find the zeros of a function. Zeros, x-intercepts, answers to equations, roots, they're all the same thing. Zeros, roots, answers, they're all the same thing. So here's our function. We're going to, if we have to find the zero of the function, we're going to put 0 in for g of x, which g of x is the same thing as y is a function of x. So I put 0 in for that. So basically, I'm solving a degree 2 equation, a quadratic equation. So if I try factoring it real quick to see if it factors, x, constant's positive, look to the middle, get your signs, minus, minus. Well, the only numbers that multiply to 3, since it's a prime number, is 1 and 3. However, 1, inside times inside, and outside times outside, your nose and smiley face, negative 1x plus negative 3x, will not ever get you to negative 6x. So this guy does not factor. So factoring did not work. So I have to resort to another method. Well, a method that works on solving any degree 2 equation is the famous quadratic formula. So the quadratic formula is the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2 times a. It's one of the most famous formulas in high school math, and the quadratic formula will solve any degree 2 equation out there. So a in this problem is 1, b is negative 6, c is 3. A is always in front of the x squared, b is always in front of the x, and c is always your constant. And if you don't have a middle term or a constant, then 0 would be going in for those letters. So take this data, plug it into the formula, and then it's going to spit out the answer at us when we do our math right. So the opposite of b, the opposite of a negative 6 is 6, plus or minus the square root of b squared, negative 6 squared, minus 4 times a times c, all over 2 times a, and a is 1 in this problem. Most students make mistakes underneath the square root because they don't follow order of operations. Make sure you follow order of operations underneath the square root. So underneath the square root, negative 6 times negative 6 is 36. And then all that is getting multiplied together. So negative 4 times 1 times 3 is a minus 12. So now we have 6 plus or minus 36 minus 12 is 24. We have the square root of 24 all over 2 times 1, which is 2. And then the square root of 24 breaks down. This is the correct answer. It's just a matter of how far you want to, break it down. Most math teachers will want you to break square roots down if they do. And square root of 24 does break down. Let's see, 16, let's see. It breaks down to be square root of 4 times square root of 6. Square root of 4 is 2. So the square root of 24 breaks down to be 2 square root of 6. So we could take this answer a little further and go 6 plus or minus 2 square root of 6, which is the same thing as the square root of 24, just a different look, all over 2. And all three of those terms have 2 in common, so that would reduce down to be 3 plus or minus the square root of 6 if we simplified it all the way, because 2 goes into itself once, it goes into 6 3 times, and 2 goes into itself once. So, and because all three of those terms have something in common, we could reduce. So you could have also taken your answer all the way to there. So that would be, what most teachers would want. This is a correct answer. It's just not fully simplified.